Well everyone, it's been exactly 1 year since I started posting videos on this channel, and that all began my Tales of Retrospective video series. I was originally very hesitant to post videos as I didn't have a lot of experience writing reviews, recording gameplay, or editing footage. So I was very hesitant when releasing my very first video. That video was my review of Tales of Destiny. Now, over 500 subscribers and over 35,000 total video views, a whole year later, a lot has changed. I personally feel that I have greatly improved in my writing, my video capture quality, and as a whole, I feel that I make much better videos than I did a year ago. When looking back at that very first video, I can't help but hate it in comparison to what I can currently create. Now, to celebrate my 1 year on YouTube, I felt that there wouldn't be any better way to do so than by taking a look at the remake of the first game I ever reviewed, the PlayStation 2 remake of Tales of Destiny. This remake uses an enhanced version of the engine used in the real Tales of Destiny 2. As well, the game uses elements from other Japanese exclusive Tales titles like Tales Rebirth. So, join me here today as we look into the future by looking at where it all began. Well, sorta. Before I formally begin, I'm obligated to mention that this remake is sadly Japanese exclusive and remains without an English translation, both official and unofficial. Tales of Destiny PS2 originally released in November 2006, and 2 years later, in 2008, a Director's Cut edition was released. This Director's Cut contained a variety of bonuses and extras, as well as an extra gameplay mode where the main character is Leon. I will only be looking at the original 2006 release, as the Director's Edition is much more expensive and harder to come by. So, with that out of the way, let's get started. In terms of story and characters, the same cast and largely the exact same story are here from the original Tales of Destiny, although there are many changes that take place. One example is at the very beginning of the game, Ston stows away on a dragon ship. In the remake, Ston comes across Ruti and Mary in disguise, whereas in the original, Ston doesn't meet the pair until a little later. And since the game is entirely in Japanese, and I only know enough to navigate through the menus, so I can't really discuss the game's story or characters, but I can say that it seems the characters have way more interactions with one another. As a whole, the story is much better presented than it is in the original PlayStation 1 game. Much of this is done through skits or new cutscenes. One area that transcends the language barrier is the gameplay. This version of Tales of Destiny has absolutely amazing gameplay, easily one of the best of the series. It even ranked in my top 6 Tales games, despite my inability to comprehend the game outside its core mechanics and gameplay. The overall formula of the original game, or that of the Tales series in general, is here, exploring dungeons, going to towns, using a real-time action-based battle system, and traveling the overworld. However, how you do all of this has changed completely from the original game. Let's start with basic town navigation. The original game used a traditional top-down perspective for exploring towns, dungeons, and whatnot. In the remake, towns are divided into multiple sections, typically with different camera angles and a variety of different NPCs performing different activities, all of which make the towns feel more lively than they did in the original game. This use of different camera angles is also implemented in dungeon exploration, making exploring each dungeon much more visually interesting and easier to differentiate between different areas of a dungeon. One thing that hasn't changed between the transition to the PlayStation 2 is that the game still uses random encounters, which is disappointing, but forgivable since the encounter rate isn't all that high. Another new change is that the game, which is primarily sprite-based, changes to a fully 3D rendered world on the world map, which is a rather strange decision. Aside from basic navigation, as well as the game's plot and characters, pretty much everything else has been completely reworked or otherwise changed. The biggest change from the original game is most definitely the combat. The original game's battle system played very similarly to Tales of Fantasia, whereas the remake feels like a 2D version of Tales of Grace's F. This is largely due to both games using CC points over the traditional TP system most Tales games are known for. So like Grace's F, each character action like dodging or attacking uses 1 CC point, so stringing together combos is limited to how you use your available CC. And again, like Grace's F, this battle system works wonderfully. Attacks flow together seamlessly, and everything is just so fast-paced and hectic, it's hard not to enjoy every battle. As the game progresses, you unlock more CC and longer, more complex battle maneuvers that allow you to create some really awesome combos. Honestly, I would argue that the remake of Tales of Destiny has the best 2D battle system of all the 2D games of the series, and one of the best of the regular series or in action JRPGs in general. It's that good. Like I said earlier, all the other game systems from the original have changed dramatically from character progression and equipment management. Like other games of the series, you will regularly buy items and new equipment and whatnot, but each piece of equipment can be upgraded down a branching upgrade tree that will drastically influence how effective your gear will be. Generally speaking, most of the gear requires lenses to upgrade. Like the original game, lenses are earned like Gald and experience after battle. In the original, lenses were traded for additional Gald, whereas here in the remake, they have many more uses, like for instance upgrading your party's equipment. Another change is how your characters learn skills, which is done through spending SP points through each character's Swordian in a system similar to a Lithian Orb from Tales of Exilia. As a whole, this game plays nothing like the PlayStation original, but as far as I'm concerned, that's a good thing. The game feels familiar yet new, bringing things that worked from the original and innovating and improving in areas that the original wasn't necessarily strong in. And I really mean it when I say that this game plays great. It should be noted that the gameplay alone is worth the price of admission, even with the language barrier. Most of the objectives are really simple to figure out, and haven't changed all that much from the original game. And while in the overworld, the location you currently need to visit is marked on the world map. I also didn't really need to resort to using a walkthrough for most of my playthrough, but then again, I have played the original game. Now, obviously, the graphics are very different. The game is almost entirely 2D, using a variety of sprite-based graphics and 2D backdrops, and for the most part, the visuals have held up very well thanks to the variety of different and unique animations in and outside of battle. The only area that appears questionable in the visuals is the 3D graphics that are used while on the overworld. The first time I actually visited the overworld, I was taken back by how, well, different the game looked in 3D, but despite my shock, the 3D graphics aren't necessarily bad, but they definitely pale in comparison to the game's excellent 2D visuals. And what would any remake be without a revised and improved soundtrack? Like the original game and the majority of the Tales series, this game's compositions were handled by none other than Motoi Sakuraba, and as a whole, the game's music contains a variety of remixes and some occasional new pieces of music, and it all sounds great. What is even more impressive is that almost the entirety of the game's cutscenes and character dialogue is fully voiced, in Japanese of course. Although I can't understand a word anyone is saying, I did enjoy hearing and seeing so much effort being put into the game's sound design. So, in conclusion, Tales of Destiny for the PlayStation 2 is an incredible game, easily one of the most comprehensive and all-around best remakes I have ever seen for any game. I would even go as far as say that Tales of Destiny on the PlayStation 2 is easily one of the best Tales experiences available. My only real complaint is that the game is sadly only available in Japanese and is yet to receive a translation both officially and unofficially. I can only hope that one day this incredible game can see the light of day outside of Japan due to the Tales series' rising popularity here in the West. Well, that about wraps up the review, but before I finish, I want to take the time to thank you all who have supported me over this past year, and thank you for making this year such a memorable one for me. I'm far from done, as I have my work cut out for me with 3 new Tales games coming to the West, and I still need to cover a variety of game series that I feel deserve more attention. Having said all of that, I would like to also formally thank some of my awesome friends that I made here on YouTube this past year. So thank you to the Cartridge Brothers for being incredible people to talk and play games with. They even had me on 2 episodes of their monthly podcast, The Cartridge Club, which you can find at www.cartridgeclub.ca or on Podomatic, and even on iTunes. As well, I'd like to thank both Dean from Round 2 Gaming and Kevin from Buried on Mars, who have incredible channels here on YouTube and have supported my channel a great deal. And of course, last but not least, I would love to give a big thank you to Steven from CapMax Gaming, which is a channel that is definitely worth checking out. Steven, like the Cartridge Bros, even had the bravery to have me on 2 episodes of his podcast, the CapMax Hypecast, which you can check out here on Podomatic. I'll have links to all the channels and podcasts I mentioned in the description of this video. Again, I cannot thank everyone enough for putting up with me over this past year, so I hope you all look forward to another year of retrospectives, reviews, and maybe some surprises down the way. So, that's it for this 1-year special video. Thanks for watching, and as always, it's been Darren from the Gaming Pilgrimage. Till next time.